My name is Elena. I'm 28 years old, and up until 3 days ago, I thought I had finally escaped the gravity of my family's dysfunction. I'm a graphic designer, a job that my mother calls doodling for pennies, but it was a job that allowed me to buy my sanctuary, a two-bedroom craftsman bungalow on the edge of the city. It was a palace. When I bought it 4 years ago, it was rotting from the inside out. I spent every weekend, every holiday, and every spare dollar fixing the wiring, sanding the floors until my hands bled, and turning that place into a home. It was mine. It was the physical proof that I was more than what they said I was. But to understand why what happened last Sunday broke me, you have to understand the dynamic. In my house, there is a sun, and there are shadows. My younger brother, Ryan, is the son. He is 25, charming, helpless, and a golden child. If Ryan crashed his car, it was the road's fault. If Ryan failed a class, the teacher was biased. If Ryan needed money, my bank account was expected to be open. I, on the other hand, was the shadow, the independent one, the one who didn't need help, which is really just code for the one we don't care about. The nightmare started on a Sunday afternoon. My mother had called me 3 times that morning, her voice shrill and frantic. "You must come for dinner, Elena. It's a celebration. Ryan has big news." I knew Ryan was planning to propose to his girlfriend, Sarah. Sarah is sweet, honestly too good for him, but she has expensive taste. I assumed the dinner was to announce the engagement. I debated not going. My stomach always turns into a knot of anxiety before I step into my parents' house. But like a fool, I wanted to be a good sister. I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, we could be a normal family for one night. I drove over. I remember the sky was a bruised purple color, looking like a storm was coming. I should have taken it as a sign. When I walked in, the atmosphere was weird. Usually, my mother is in the kitchen, banging pots and complaining. Today, the table was set with the good china. My father was sitting in his armchair, not watching TV, just staring at his hands. Ryan was pacing, looking like a cat that had just swallowed a canary, nervous, but smug. "Elena, you're here." My mother rushed over, hugging me. That was the second red flag. My mother doesn't hug me unless she wants something. Her perfume was overpowering, a floral scent that always made me sneeze. Sit. We ordered Italian. We sat down. Ryan was beaming. He held up his hand, imitating a ring. She said yes. "Oh?" Sarah said yes. "We're getting married in the spring." "That's great." "Ryan, congratulations," I said, and I meant it. "I'm happy for you." "It's going to be a big wedding," my mother interjected, pouring wine. Her hand was shaking slightly. "Sarah's family. They are well-to-do. We have to match them. We have to provide a house, a marital home. It's tradition." I took a sip of water. "Okay, well, Ryan has a job now, right? And Sarah works. I'm sure they can save up for a down payment in a year or 2. The room went deadly silent. The only sound was the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall. Tick, tick, tick. Ryan looked at my dad. Dad cleared his throat and looked away. "Actually," Ryan said, his voice dropping a little, "we already found a house, say buyer. I mean, for the capital." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" My mother reached into her purse, which was sitting on the table, and pulled out a thick manila envelope. She slid it across the lace tablecloth toward me. It stopped right next to my fork. "We know you're going to be reasonable about this, Elena," Mom said. Her voice had changed. The fake warmth was gone, replaced by that steel-edged tone she used when she was brokering a deal. "You're single. You're always working. You don't need all that space. It's selfish." "Really? For one girl to live in a two-bedroom house while her brother is trying to start a family. My blood ran cold. I opened the envelope. Inside was a contract of sale. For my address, my house, the house I scraped and saved for, the house whose title deed was in my name. I scanned the document, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The price listed was slightly below market value, and at the bottom, there was a signature. Elena Vance. It was my name, but I hadn't signed it. It was a shaky, sloppy imitation of my signature. I looked up, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. What is this? It's the sale agreement, Ryan said, taking a bite of a breadstick, as if we were discussing the weather. We found a cash buyer, developer. They want to close in 30 days. The money from that will pay for my new place. It's this huge condo downtown. Sarah loves it. And the rest will cover the wedding. You sold my house? I whispered. I couldn't comprehend the audacity. You can't sell my house. It's mine. Don't be dramatic, my mother snapped. We did it for the family. We needed the liquidity. We figured you could move back in here for a while. Your old room is. Well, we use it for storage now, but we can clear a corner. I didn't sign this, I said, my voice rising. I held up the paper, my hand trembling. This is forgery. This is a crime. It's a placeholder. My father finally spoke, his voice booming. We signed it on your behalf to secure the deal. The buyer is eager, but the title company is asking for a notarized waiver and the official transfer deed signed by you in person. That's what's in the rest of the envelope. I pulled out the other papers, a quitclaim deed, transferring ownership from me to Ryan Vance, and then a second document, a sale from Ryan to the developer. You want me to give my house to Ryan so he can sell it? I asked, looking at them. I felt like I was in a fever dream. Larry, H.E.S. your brother. Mom slammed her hand on the table. He is getting married. Do you know how embarrassing it is that his sister sits on a property she doesn't need while he rents? We sacrificed everything to raise you. You owe us, you owe him. I bought that house with my money, I said, standing up, my savings, my loan. And who fed you for 18 years? Mom stood up too, getting in my face. Who paid for your braces? We are a family. Alana, families share assets. This isn't about you. It's about the legacy. Ryan carries the family name. You'll just get married eventually and change yours. The house belongs to the family line. I looked at Ryan. He wasn't even looking at me. He was texting on his phone, probably Sarah. He looked bored. He thought this was a done deal. He thought I was just a hurdle to be stepped over, a vending machine to be kicked until the prize fell out. I'm not signing. I said, I'm not signing anything. And if you try to use that forged contract, I'll call the police. Ryan laughed. A short, sharp bark of a laugh. Come on. Al, you're not going to call the cops on Mom and Dad. You don't have the guts. Besides, I already took the deposit, $10,000. I spent it on the venue deposit. If this deal falls through, now I have to pay it back double. You're not going to ruin my wedding. You stole my house to pay for a party? I felt bile rising in my throat. It's an investment in his future. Mom screamed. Why are you so selfish? Why are you always so jealous of him? I looked around the room, the familiar wallpaper, photos on the mantle, all of Ryan. Ryan graduating, Ryan playing baseball. There wasn't a single picture of me. That was the moment. That was the beat where the old Elena, the one who craves their validation, died. It wasn't a loud death. It was silent. It was the sound of a switch flipping in the dark. I looked at the forged signature again. I realized something terrifying. They didn't just think I would do it, they felt entitled to my destruction. They had already spent the money. They already promised my home to a stranger. They viewed me not as a person, but as a resource to be harvested. I needed to get out, but I knew if I screamed, if I fought, they would wear me down. They would guilt-trip me. They would block the door. My father has a temper. I needed to be smart. I took a deep breath. I forced my shoulders to relax. I forced a look of defeat onto my face. It was the hardest acting performance of my life. Nows and dollars? I asked quietly. Yes, Ryan said, looking up. So you see, you have to sign. Otherwise, we're screwed. I need to think, I said, my voice shaking. This time, the shake was calculated. This is a lot. I can't just sign it tonight. I need to process this. What is there to process? Mom demanded. It's my home. Mom, I said, letting a tear fall. Just give me tonight. Please. Mim in shock. I'll take the papers. I'll look them over. I'll come back tomorrow. They exchanged looks. The predator calculating if the prey was sufficiently wounded. Fine, Dad grunted. But tomorrow by noon, the notary is coming here at 12. Okay, I whispered. Tomorrow at noon. I reached for the envelope. Mom's hand shot out and grabs my wrist. Her grip was like iron. Do not play games with me, Elena, she hissed, her eyes dark and empty. You do the right thing, for once in your life, make us proud. I will. I said, I promise. I took the envelope. I walked to the door. I didn't look back. As soon as I got into my car, I locked the doors. My hands were shaking so hard, I couldn't get the key in the ignition. I hypervenal at D for exactly 30 seconds. Then, the coldness took over. I wasn't going to sign. I wasn't going to call the police. Not yet. That was too easy. They would cry to the cops, say it was a misunderstanding of family dispute. The police hate family disputes. No. I drove home to the house they tried to sell from under me. I walked inside and stood in the dark living room. I felt the walls, I felt the safety, and then I remembered. 6 months ago, after a break-in down the street, I had installed a high-end security system. Cameras in the living room, the kitchen, the porch, and audio recording. That wasn't enough. I needed more. If they wanted a war, I would give them a nuclear winter. But first, I had to disappear. I spent that night packing. Not everything, just the essentials. Documents, jewelry, hard drives, clothes. I packed my life into 4 suitcases. I went to my safe. I took out the deed to the house, the real deed. I took my passport. Then, I did something crucial. I logged into the cloud server for my security cameras. I downloaded the footage from the last few times my parents had visited. I was looking for something specific. I scanned hours of video until I found it. Now, 2 weeks ago, my mother had come over to drop off some mail. I was in the shower. The camera in the living room showed her clearly. She wasn't dropping off mail. She was rifling through my desk drawers. She found a folder, my mortgage statements. She took photos of them with her phone. Click. Evidence number 1. Then I remembered the buyer. The developer. Their name was on the contract in the envelope. Vanguard Realty. I did a quick Google search. Vanguard Realty. I found the agency mail. I didn't email them yet. That would be playing my hand too early. Instead, I wrote a letter, not to my parents, to my boss. I requested immediate remote work, citing a family emergency. Then I booked an Airbnb in a town 3 hours away under a friend's name. Hats for a clocka? Hey, I loaded my car. The street was silent. The house looked beautiful in the moonlight. I was going to miss it, but I couldn't stay here. If I stayed, They would come pounding on the door at 12:01 p.m. I left the key under the mat, not the house key, but a single brass key to a storage locker I hadn't paid for in 6 months. A petty decoy. I got in my car. I blocked my mother, my father, and Ryan on everything: phone, social media, email. As I drove onto the highway, watching the city lights fade in my rearview mirror, I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt lighter. I was homeless, in a way. I was an orphan, voluntarily. But I had the envelope. I had the forged contracts. I had the footage of my mother stealing my financial info. They wanted a signature. Oh, they were going to get something much more permanent than a signature. They thought they were dealing with the daughter who cried when they forgot her birthday. They didn't realize they had just declared war on the woman who built her own fortress. I wasn't just leaving. I was preparing the trap. For the first 3 months after I left, I was a ghost. I changed my phone number. I routed all my mail to a P.O. box in a different county. I legally changed my middle name and started going by that Victoria. It was a small change, but it felt like armor. I didn't sell the house. That would have been letting them win. Instead, I hired a ruthless property management firm. I told them I don't want to know who rents it. I just want the checks. And if anyone named Vance comes sniffing around, call the police for trespassing. I moved to Chicago. It was cold, windy, and perfect. I threw myself into my work. Without the constant drain of my family's drama, my career skyrocketed. I went from a junior designer to an art director in 2 years. I stopped dressing in the drab colors my mother approved of. I cut my hair short. I started wearing red. I built a new family, not one bound by blood, but by respect. There was Marcus, a lawyer who specialized in estate fraud. Ironic, I know. But we met at a coffee shop and he became my rock. There was Sarah, and not my brother Sarah, but my best friend, who taught me that love doesn't come with a price tag. For 3 years, I was free. But I knew it wasn't over. Narcissists don't just let their victims walk away. They wait. They stew. They rewrite history until they are the victims. I kept tabs on them though, not directly. I had a Google alert set up for my brother's name. Year 1 silence. Year 2 a small announcement in a local paper. Ryan's engagement to the original Sarah had been called off due to unforeseen circumstances. I smiled when I read that. No house money, no wedding. Then, last month, the alert pinged again. Ryan Vance and Jessica Miller to wed. June 12th. Grand Ballroom, the Sterling Hotel. Jessica, hiring new victim. And the Sterling Hotel? That was a 5-star venue. My parents were broke. Ryan was a barista part-time. How were they affording this? Now 2 days later, the email arrived. It wasn't to my personal email. It was sent to my work address. My mother had hunted me down via LinkedIn. The subject line was, "Dad is in the hospital. The oldest trick in the book. A medical emergency to force contact." I stared at the screen. My heart didn't race this time. My hands didn't shake. I just felt a cold, clinical curiosity. I called Marcus. They found me. "Do you want me to draft a cease and desist?" he asked. "No," I said, looking at the calendar. June 12th was 3 weeks away. "I think it's time to close the book." I replied to the email, short, detached. I hope he recovers. My phone rang 10 minutes later. It was my mother, Eleanor. Her voice was weepy, a performance worthy of an Oscar. "Oh, thank God. We've been so worried. We didn't know if you were dead or alive." "I'm alive, Mom." "What do you want?" "Your father." It's his heart. The stress, Elena, the stress of you leaving broke him. There it was, the guilt trip. Is he dying? I asked. He's stabilizing, but he wants to see you. We all do. We want to put the past behind us. We forgive you. Elena, they forgave me. I had to mute the phone to laugh. The audacity was breathtaking. Ryan is getting married, she continued, pivoting instantly from tragedy to business. He really wants his big sister there. He misses you. We're a family. You can't stay away forever. Who's paying for the wedding? Mom, I asked. There was a pause. Hesitation. Well, that's actually something we wanted to discuss. We have a plan, a business opportunity, but we need the family united to make it work. Just come home. For the wedding, please. I knew exactly what this was. They hadn't found a pot of gold. They were likely in debt up to their eyeballs, putting on a show for this new girl's wealthy family, hoping that once I showed up, they could bully me into signing over the house again to cover the back-end costs. They probably told the venue they had assets liquidating soon. I was the asset. Okay, I said. Elkem. You will? She sounded shocked. Yes. I've missed you guys too. I lied. I've done well for myself, Mom. I have savings now, maybe. Maybe I can help out? I heard the sharp intake of breath on the other end. The hook was set. Oh, Elena, I knew you'd come around. I knew you weren't heartless. Her voice went from tragic to ecstatic in a nanosecond. The wedding is in 3 weeks. You should come early. You can stay in your old room. No, I'll get a hotel, I said. But I want to do something special for Ryan, since I missed the last few years. I want to put together the video montage, you know. For the reception, the slideshow of him growing up, I have all those old digital files on my drive. That would be wonderful. He chirped. That saves us. I mean, that would be so touching. Great. Make sure the DJ knows I'm bringing the file. I want it to be a surprise. It will be perfect. Welcome home, sweetie. I hung up. I turned to my computer. I opened the folder labeled Nuclear Option. Inside was the security footage from 3 years ago. My mother stealing my bank statements, Ryan forging my signature. My father laughing about how easy it was to manipulate me. I also had new documents. I had done a little digging. I found out my brother had taken out credit cards in my name right after I left. He thought I wouldn't notice since I was gone. Fraud. Federal wire fraud. And the piece de resistance, I had transferred the title of my house to a charitable trust for battered women last week. I didn't own it anymore. Even if they held a gun to my heart, I couldn't give it to them. I spent the next 2 weeks editing. I didn't make a slideshow of baby photos. I made a documentary. I synced the audio. I enhanced the video quality. I added subtitles. I booked a first-class ticket back to my hometown. I bought it stunning, expensive, and black. They wanted a show. They wanted the wealthy, successful sister to come back and save the day. I packed my laptop. I packed the USB drive. I looked in the mirror. The scared girl who ran away in the middle of the night was gone. The woman staring back was the executioner. See you at the altar, Ryan, I whispered. The Sterling Hotel was dripping in crystals and desperation. As I walked into the lobby, the smell of expensive lilies hit me thick, cloying scent that barely masked the smell of stale ambition. I wore the black dress. It was silk, floor-length, and tailored to within an inch of its life. I had paired it with dime and studs, real ones, bought with my own bonus check, and stilettos that clicked against the marble floor like the ticking of a bomb. I saw them immediately. My parents were standing near the entrance of the ballroom, acting as the welcoming committee. My father, the man who was supposedly on his deathbed 3 weeks ago, was holding a scotch and laughing heartily with a man I recognized as the local bank manager. He looked flushed, healthy, and entirely alive. Step 1 of the confirmation: the heart attack was a lie. I took a breath, put on my dutiful daughter mask, and approached. Mom, Dad. They turned. The smiles on their faces froze for a fraction of a second, assessing me. They were looking for the broken, desperate girl who ran away. Instead, they saw a woman who looked like she owned the building. Elena, my mother, recovered first, rushing forward to embrace me. Her hug was tight. Possessive. You made it. Oh, look at you. You look prosperous. I've been working hard, I said, pulling away gently. Dad, you look remarkable for a man who was in the ICU last month. Dad didn't even blink. Modern medicine, Elena. And the joy of seeing my family reunited. It's a miracle. Where's the groom? I asked. Now untied. Mom lowered her voice, pulling me closer. Elena, we need to talk before the reception starts about the contribution. Not now, Mom, I said, patting her hand. I have a big surprise for Ryan. It's all part of the presentation I prepared. Let's just enjoy the ceremony first. Okay? Well handled business after the cake. Her eyes lit up. She interpreted surprise as check. She squeezed my hand. I knew we could count on you. You're a good girl. The ceremony was nauseating. I sat in the third row. I watched Ryan, sweating in a tuxedo that was slightly too tight, recite vows he clearly Googled 10 minutes ago. I watched Jessica, the bride. She looked young, radiant, and completely oblivious. She looked at Rhea like he hung the moon. It broke my heart a little. She was collateral damage, but she needed to know the truth before she signed a marriage license that would shackle her to his debt. After the I-do's, the reception began. This was it. The trap was set. I made my way to the DJ booth. The DJ was a kid named Kyle, maybe 20 years old. Hey, I'm the sister, I said, flashing a smile. I have the tribute video for the groom. Oh, cool, Kyle said. The schedule says we run that right after the best man speech. You got the file? Right here. I handed him the USB drive. Do not, and I mean do not, play it until I give the signal. I want to say a few words first. I mingled. I let my relatives come up to me and make backhanded compliments about how I was finally coming out of my shell. I let Ryan corner me by the open bar. So, Ryan said, swirling his drink. He didn't say hello. He didn't ask how I was. Mom says you're helping out. It's about time. This wedding cost a fortune. It looks expensive, I said, looking around at the ice sculptures. How did you afford the deposit? Ryan. He smirked. Credit, cards, loans. You know how it is. Use other people's money to make money. Once the wedding gifts come in, and once we sell, well, once we sort out the real estate. It'll be fine. The real estate, I repeated. You mean my house? Our house, he corrected me, his eyes narrowing. Don't start this again. Al, just sign the papers tomorrow. Don't embarrass me in front of Jessica's dad. He thinks I'm a partner in a tech firm. You told him you're a partner? I almost laughed. Ryan, you work at a coffee shop. I'm an investor, he snapped. Look, just play your little video. Give us the check and you can go back to whatever hole you crawled out of. We just need the signature. You'll get everything you deserve tonight. Ryan, I promised. He patted my shoulder, condescending. Good girl. The dinner was served, the speeches began. The best man, Ryan's frat brother, told a drunken story about a road trip that wasn't funny. The crowd laughed politely. Then, the DJ announced, and now a very special tribute from the groom's sister, who flew all the way from Chicago to be here. Give it up for Eleanor. The room applauded. I walked to the stage. I took the microphone. The spotlight blinded me for a second, but I found my parents in the darkness. They were sitting at the head table, beaming. They thought they had won. Hi everyone, I said, my voice steady. For those who don't know me, I'm Melina, Ryan's older sister. I paused. The room went quiet. They say you can't choose your family, and that's true. But you can choose your truth. When I was asked to come here today, my mother told me that family supports family. That we share everything, assets, debts, secrets. I looked at Jessica. She was smiling at me, holding Ryan's hand. Ryan, I said, turning to him. You always wanted the spotlight. You always wanted everything that was mine. My attention, my money, my home. Well, tonight I'm giving you exactly what you wanted. I'm giving you the spotlight, but I'm also giving you the truth. I signaled the DJ. Hit it. Kyle. The lights dimmed. The massive projector screen behind the head table flickered to life. Soft piano music started playing. A picture in Ryan as a baby appeared. The crowd went AWW. Then, the music stopped abruptly. The screen cut to black, and then a grainy, high-definition video appeared. It was the living room of my old house. The timestamp in the corner read October 14, 2022. Now 15 p.m. On the screen, my mother walked into the frame. She wasn't holding a baby. She was holding a crowbar. She pried open my desk drawer. The audio was crisp. I can't believe she locks this. My mother's voice boomed through the ballroom speakers. Ungrateful brat, just find the account numbers. Mom, Ryan's voice. He walked into the frame. He was holding a beer. I need that credit card number to book the trip to Cabo. If she doesn't notice for a month, I can max it out. I asked crippled through the room. I looked at the head table. My mother had dropped her fork. Ryan was frozen, staring at the screen. The video cut to another clip. November 3, 2022, the kitchen able. Ryan was practicing a signature on a piece of paper. It has to look like hers, my father said, leaning over him. It does, Ryan laughed. Look, Eleanor Vance. Eleanor Vance? She's so stupid, she'll probably believe she signed it herself when she was drunk. She's a shadow. Mom said on the recording, we sell the house, give her a few thousand to shut her up, and use the rest for your portfolio. She doesn't need a house. She has no future. The room was deathly silent now. No one was eating. Jessica had let go of Ryan's hand. The video cut again. This was a screen recording of a computer. It showed a bank transfer. $15,000 moved from Elena savings to Ryan Vance checking. Then a series of credit card applications filled out in my name. With Ryan's email address. Turn it off, Ryan screamed, jumping up. Turn it off. But I had password protected the file. Kyle, the DJ, was frantically clicking his mouse, but nothing was happening. The final image appeared on the screen. It was a legal document. WARNTYDEED. Grantor Eleanor Vance. Grantee or Fashi. The street. Mary Shelter for victims of domestic abuse. Date May 20, 2026. My voice came back over the speakers, pre-recorded this time, acting as the narrator. Surprise, Ryan? You can't sell the house. I don't own it anymore. I donated it last week. The assets you promised your investors, they don't exist, but the fraud charges? Those are very real. The screen went black. The lights came up. I stood on the stage. The microphone still in my hand. Ryan was purple with rage. He looked like he was about to charge the stage. My mother was clutching her chest. For real this time. My father was looking at the bank manager, who was furiously typing on his phone. Jessica stood up. She was shaking. She looked at the screen, then at Ryan. You stole from her, she whispered. Her voice was amplified by the silence of the room. You told me you were a self-made man. You told me the house was an inheritance from your grandmother. Yes. Baby, it's a deep fake, Ryan stammered, reaching for her. She's crazy, just jealous. It's not a deep fake, I said calmly into the mic. And neither are the police officers waiting in the lobby. I filed the report this morning. Identity theft, wire fraud, forgery. It's all there. Ryan looked at the doors. Two uniformed officers stepped in. The trap hadn't just sprung, it had crushed them. Happy wedding day, little brother. I said. I dropped the microphone. It hit the floor with a heavy thud that echoed like a gavel striking a sounding block. The sound of a microphone hitting the floor is louder than you think. In that ballroom, it sounded like a gunshot. For 5 seconds, nobody moved. The guests were frozen, forks halfway to their mouths, staring at the blank screen where my brother's crimes had just been broadcast in high definition. Then, chaos erupted. Ryan was the first to break the silence. He didn't look at me. He looked at the two police officers walking toward him. His face went from red to a ghostly white. This is a mistake, he shrieked, his voice cracking. She added that. It's AI, it's not real. Officer Miller, a man I had spoken to earlier that morning and provided with the unedited raw files, didn't look amused. And grabbed Ryan's wrist. Ryan Vance, he said, his voice cutting through the murmurs. You are under arrest for identity theft, wire fraud, and grand larceny. You have the right to remain silent. Mom, Dad, do something, Ryan screamed. Struggling as the handcuffs clicked, the sound of that metal ratcheting shut was the sweetest music I had ever heard. I looked at my parents. They weren't rushing to help him. They were paralyzed. My father was slumped in his chair looking at the bank manager, who was currently on his phone, likely canceling the business loan he had pre-approved based on my stolen assets. The manager caught my eye, nodded grimly, and walked out of the exit. There went their lifeline. My mother, however, was staring at me. Her eyes weren't filled with remorse, they were filled with pure, unadulterated hatred. I stepped off the stage. I intended to walk straight out the front door, but Jessica, the bride, blocked my path. Nah, she looked wrecked. Her mascara was running down her cheeks. She held her bouquet like a weapon. Is it true? She asked, her voice trembling. Did he really? Did he steal your house? He tried to, I said gently. But the debt he took out in my name? The credit cards, those are real. And if you married him today, half of that debt would eventually become your headache in community property proceedings. I didn't do this to hurt you, Jessica. I did it to save you. She looked at Ryan, who was now being dragged toward the exit, still screaming obscenities at me. She looked at his parents, who were too cowardly to intervene. Slowly, deliberately, Jessica pulled the dime and ring off her finger. It was a fake diamond. I knew that for a fact. Ryan had bragged on the recording about swapping the stone. He walked over to where Ryan was struggling with the cops. Jess, baby, tell them, Ryan pleaded. She threw the ring at his chest. My father is calling his lawyer. Don't ever contact me again. She turned and ran out the side door. I watched her go, collateral damage saved. I continued toward the exit. I was almost free. But then a cold hand grabbed my arm. It was my mother. She had recovered from her shock enough to unleash her venom. She pulled me into the corner of the lobby, away from the gawking guests. Are you happy now? She hissed. Her face inches from mine. Spittle flew from her mouth. You destroyed this family. You destroyed your brother's life. On his wedding day, how could you be so cruel? I looked at her hand on my arm. I didn't pull away. I just looked at it until she let go and settled by my calmness. I didn't destroy his life, Mom. I said, he broke the law. You helped him. You encouraged him. You thought I was a resource, not a person. You thought you could harvest me. We raised you. She cried, playing her greatest hit. We gave you life. This is how you repay us. By sending your brother to prison? He's a boy. He made a mistake. He's 25. I corrected her, and he's not a boy. He's a felon. You have to drop the charges. My father appeared behind her, his face gray. Elena, be reasonable. The scandal. We'll lose the house. We'll lose everything. If you drop the charges, we can work something out, the shelter. Maybe you can reverse the donation? I laughed. It was a genuine laugh, bubbling up from my chest. Even now, standing in the wreckage of their own making, they were trying to negotiate. They were trying to see if there was still a drop of blood left in the stone. The donation is irrevocable, I said. The house belongs to the street, Mary's shelter now. Next week, women escaping abusive families will be living there. I think that's poetic, don't you? You are evil, Mom whispered. You are a cold-hearted bitch. I have no daughter. This was the moment I had feared for years. The rejection. The final severance. But standing there in my expensive dress, with my bank accounts secure and my conscience clear, I realized something. It didn't hurt. You're right, I said, smiling. You don't have a daughter. You have a victim who finally fought back, and now you have nothing. I reached into my clutch and pulled out a small business card. It was for my lawyer. If you want to talk to me again, do it through him. But I warn you, he charges $500 an hour, and unlike me, he doesn't work for family discounts. I turned around. Elena, my mother screamed. If you walk out that door, don't you dare come back. You will die alone. I pushed open the heavy double doors of the hotel. The night air was cool and crisp. It smelled of rain and pavement, the smell of the city, the smell of freedom. I didn't look back. I'm writing this from my balcony in Chicago. I have a view of the lake. It's breathtaking. The fallout was spectacular as expected. Ryan pled guilty, with the video evidence. He didn't have a choice. He got 3 years in state prison for fraud and identity theft. I didn't go to the sentencing. I sent a victim impact statement that was 2 sentences long. He is not my brother. He is a stranger who stole my name. My parents lost their house. The bank called in their loans after the wedding fiasco exposed their financial house of cards. They are currently living in a 1-bedroom apartment on the bad side of town. Rumor has it my mother works as a cashier at a grocery store. I don't check up on them. I don't care. As for my house, my beautiful craftsman bungalow, I visited it once from a distance. I saw a young woman sitting on the porch swing I had installed, holding a baby. She looked safe. She looked like she was healing. That house was a cage for me, filled with memories of conditional love. But now, it's a sanctuary for someone else. That is the best renovation I could have ever done. My phone rang. It was Marcus. Hey, he said. The final restraining order was granted. Permanent. They can't come within 500 feet of you or contact you electronically. Thanks, Marcus, I said. So he asked, what are you going to do now? The war is over. I took a sip of my wine. I looked at the vast, open horizon. Now, I said. Now I'm going to live. I hung up the phone. I deleted the nuclear option folder from my laptop. I didn't need the evidence anymore. I didn't need the anger. I was no longer the shadow. I was the sun of my own universe. And for the first time in 28 years, the sky was completely clear.